The music legend Teddy Pendergrass passed away, leaving the world in disbelief. But the story didn't end there. Whispers of lost tapes, secret diaries, and hidden heartbreak began to surface. Behind closed doors were secrets no one expected, secrets that left fans asking, who was the real Teddy Pendergrass? Stay with us as we uncover what was found. Inside Teddy Pendergrass's room. When Teddy Pendergrass took his final breath, fans all over the world expected the story to continue, just in a different way. This was the man who once stood on top of the music world, the man who filled arenas, sold millions of records, and lived a life most people could only dream of. Surely behind those closed doors there had to be secrets, hidden diaries, lost tapes, or maybe even a vault of unreleased songs. After all, Teddy wasn't just any singer. He once owned a massive 34-room mansion, and his garage gleamed with luxury cars, Rolls-Royces, Ferraris, the kind of collection that screamed power and success. He had a huge home on West Allen's Lane in Philadelphia's Chestnut Hill, a place neighbors described as more than just a house. It was a fortress of a superstar. And back in the 1970s, he was photographed in front of another grand home in Gladwin, Pennsylvania, a snapshot of a man in his prime, standing proudly in front of everything he had built. With a life that dramatic, people believed there had to be something hidden away. Fans whispered about lost manuscripts, unreleased recordings, and even secret letters that might reveal the private side of Teddy's life. But when the doors finally opened after his death, the truth stunned everyone. There was no treasure trove, no vault of hidden music, no shocking diary entries. What they found instead was nothing unusual. The reason was heartbreaking. In his final years, Teddy Pendergrass was caught in a bitter estate battle. His son, Teddy Pendergrass II, and his widow, Joan, fought over conflicting wills. The courts ruled for Joan, saying Teddy II's will was fraudulent, but even that didn't end the pain. His daughters appealed, and the fight dragged on. Meanwhile, financial strain grew worse and worse. By the time Teddy passed, testimony revealed he had almost no money left. His beautiful mansion, once a symbol of his success, was lost to foreclosure, and that became a true shock. There were no hidden treasures because there was nothing left to hide. The man who once lived in luxury, who once filled rooms with his booming voice and presence, left behind silence. But maybe that silence speaks louder than any secret could. Teddy Pendergrass lived a life of triumph and tragedy. He rose to heights few singers ever reach and continued to inspire millions with his music. And when the lights went out and the world searched for something more, the greatest truth was this: what Teddy left behind wasn't in a room or in a vault. It was in the voices of fans still singing his songs. So maybe the real question is this: were Teddy Pendergrass's secrets already known? Was his life itself the story he left behind? And what kind of life did he truly live before the end? The rise of a star. When you think about soul music in the 1970s and 80s, one name always comes to mind: Teddy Pendergrass. With his silky smooth voice, his powerful stage presence, and a charisma that drove fans wild. Teddy wasn't just a singer, he was an icon. He became one of the most unforgettable voices in R&B, selling out arenas, topping the charts, and creating moments that fans still talk about to this day. Born Theodore Darius Pendergrass on March 26, 1950, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Teddy was the only son of Ida and Jesse Pendergrass. His parents separated when he was very young, and so his mother Ida raised him as a single parent. Times were tough in North Philadelphia, but Ida did her best to guide her son and protect him from the rough streets. From an early age, music was in Teddy's soul. He grew up singing gospel in church, and he was also skilled on the drums. In fact, he became an ordained minister at the age of 10. Even as a little boy, people noticed that Teddy had a voice that could touch hearts. But like many great artists, Teddy's dreams weren't fully formed until he saw someone else bring them to life. That moment came when Teddy was about 13 years old. One evening, he went to see the legendary Jackie Wilson perform. Jackie was already a superstar, known for his terrific stage presence and his ability to make women in the crowd swoon. Teddy later recalled that night in an interview, "I always knew I wanted to be in show business, but it was confirmed for me when I saw Jackie Wilson on stage. That was it. I knew exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life." Watching Jackie Wilson showed Teddy that music wasn't just about singing, it was about connecting with people, making them feel something, and creating a moment they would never forget. Along with Jackie Wilson, Teddy drew inspiration from James Brown, Otis Redding, Nat King Cole, and even Frank Sinatra. He studied their movements, their voices, and their ability to command a stage. Teddy wasn't just preparing to sing, he was preparing to be a star. By the late 60s, Teddy had already started performing around Philadelphia. With his good looks, his smooth baritone voice, and his natural confidence, he caught the attention of Harold Melvin, leader of the popular R&B group Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. In 1970, Teddy officially became the lead singer of the group. This was the moment everything changed. His powerful voice quickly pushed the group into the spotlight. By 1972, they had signed with Philadelphia International Records, a label that specialized in polished, soulful hits. Under the guidance of producers Gamble and Huff, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes released some of the greatest R&B classics of the decade. Songs like If You Don't Know Me By Now, Wake Up Everybody, and The Love I Lost became instant hits. Teddy's deep, emotional delivery made those songs unforgettable. Fans could feel his passion in every word, but behind the scenes, not everything was smooth. Teddy was becoming the real star of the group, and tensions started to rise between him and Harold Melvin. Arguments over money and leadership eventually led Teddy to make a bold decision. In 1976, he left the group to go solo. Teddy wasted no time proving he could shine on his own. In 1977, he released his first solo album, simply titled Teddy Pendergrass. It was a huge success, climbing to number 5 on the R&B charts. Songs like You Can't Hide From Yourself, The Whole Town's Laughing at Me, and I Don't Love You Anymore announced that Teddy wasn't just a former band member, he was a force to be reckoned with. Then came his second album, Life is a Song Worth Singing, which included the timeless ballad Close the Door. This song cemented Teddy as the king of romantic R&B. His voice was smooth yet commanding, filled with both strength and tenderness. By the time he released his third album, Teddy, he was a certified superstar. With songs like Turn Off the Lights, Teddy wasn't just singing, he was creating an experience. Women in the audience screamed, fainted, and rushed the stage. His concerts became legendary. Teddy knew how to use his voice, but he also knew how to use his image. Tall, dark, and handsome, he leaned into the role of the ladies' man. He started performing for ladies-only concerts, shows designed to be intimate experiences for his female fans. At these concerts, Teddy would often wear his signature tank tops, showing off his muscular frame. The crowds went wild. His drummer, James Carter, once said, "He wasn't built like Arnold Schwarzenegger or nothing. He just came out in that wife-beater t-shirt and they went crazy." Fans began to call him the Black Elvis because of his charisma, his sexy appeal, and the way he could command a crowd. Teddy embraced the nickname, living a life of luxury. By the late 70s, Teddy was unstoppable. In 1979, he tied with Lou Rawls to win the American Music Award for Best Male Soul Artist. In 1980, he released the album TP, produced with the help of legendary duos Ashford and Simpson and McFadden and Whitehead. This album gave the world one of Teddy's most iconic songs, Love TKO. With this hit, Teddy's voice reached new heights of emotion and artistry. But while the world saw Teddy as a confident superstar, behind the scenes he battled personal struggles. Fame brought pressure, and his public image as a ladies' man sometimes hid the inner demons he faced. He carried the weight of expectations, relationships, and the non-stop demands of being at the top of the music industry. Even with all the struggles he faced, Teddy never gave up. He poured his heart and soul into every song, every performance filled with both love and pain. But then, one tragedy stopped him in his tracks. What really happened to Teddy? The secret no one else knows. By the early 80s, Teddy Pendergrass was on top of the world. He had the looks, the voice, the mansion, the luxury cars, and millions of adoring fans. But in the blink of an eye, everything changed. On March 18, 1982, in the East Falls neighborhood of Philadelphia, Teddy's life was thrown into chaos. That night, the world would learn a shocking secret, one that would follow him for the rest of his life. Teddy was driving his brand-new Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit down Lincoln Drive, a winding road that cuts through Philadelphia. He had recently wrecked his Maserati just the week before, but that didn't stop him from getting behind the wheel again. What many didn't know at the time was that his driver's license had been suspended for unpaid parking tickets, but Teddy was determined to keep living life in the fast lane. That night, he wasn't alone. Sitting in the passenger seat was a woman no one recognized, a mystery companion who would later become one of the most controversial parts of this story. At around 1:30 a.m., tragedy struck. Teddy's Rolls-Royce veered out of control. The car slammed into a guardrail, crossed into the oncoming lane, and crashed into two trees. The impact was devastating. The heavy doors jammed shut, trapping Teddy and his passenger inside. For nearly an hour, they were stuck in the crumpled wreck before emergency crews managed to free them. Teddy's passenger escaped with only minor injuries, but Teddy wasn't so lucky. The crash had left him with a spinal cord injury, paralyzing him from the chest down. In one moment, one violent crash, Teddy Pendergrass' world of fame and freedom collapsed. He would never walk again. At first, fans only knew that Teddy hadn't been alone in the car. But who was this woman? Why was she there? And what role did she play in the accident? The public became obsessed with these questions. For weeks, newspapers and TV stations speculated about her identity. Rumors swirled and whispers filled the air. Finally, the truth came out. The passenger was Tenica Watson, a transgender nightclub performer in Philadelphia. She had known Teddy since the 1970s, but the two weren't romantically involved. Teddy himself would later call her only a casual acquaintance. The revelation shocked the public. In the early 1980s, conversations about transgender identity were rare, and the fact that Teddy had been with a transgender woman became a scandal. Instead of focusing on Teddy's survival and his future, many tabloids turned their attention to Tenica Watson's identity, treating her like the biggest secret of the crash. Years later, Tenica Watson shared her side of the story. According to her, the crash wasn't Teddy's fault at all. She believed the car had a mechanical failure, possibly even sabotage, and that the brakes may have been tampered with. She described the moments before the crash, the sudden loss of control, the car hurtling across the road, the terrifying impact. She remembered being trapped, waiting in the dark for rescue. While she managed to walk away, she never forgot what happened to Teddy that night. For Tenica, being labeled as the mystery woman was both painful and frustrating. She was simply a passenger caught in a tragic accident. But for years, the media painted her as a scandalous figure, a secret Teddy had tried to hide. The crash and what followed sparked endless rumors about Teddy driving with a suspended license, the wrecked Maserati, and why he was with Tenica Watson that night. Some suggested substance or alcohol were involved, but police later ruled that out. Others whispered about conspiracy theories, pointing to Tenica's claim that the brakes had been tampered with. The truth is, much of what happened that night remains a mystery. What we do know is that the accident ended Teddy's life as he had known it. The flashy cars, the seductive stage shows, the image of the Black Elvis, all of that was gone in an instant. When Teddy woke up in the hospital and realized the extent of his injuries, he was devastated. The man who once danced across stages, who drove luxury cars, who lived life on his own terms, was now confined to a wheelchair. Teddy was forced to face deep loss, anger, and depression, while the spotlight on Tenica Watson only added fuel to the fire. Rather than sympathy, the media fed on rumors and scandal, making his struggle even harder. Yet somehow, Teddy endured. But what came after the accident? And how did he find the strength to rise above such tragedy? Surviving the tragedy. Even though the terrible accident left Teddy paralyzed from the chest down and confined to a wheelchair, making him question if his career, fame, and purpose were over, the years that followed revealed something far greater than fame or money. They showed his strength, his faith, and the heart of a man who refused to give up. While doctors worked on his body, Teddy's fans worked on his spirit. Letters, cards, and flowers poured in from across the world. Tens of thousands of people wanted him to know one thing: they still loved him. In August 1982, just a few months after the accident, his record label, Philadelphia International, released an album called This One's For You. It featured songs Teddy had recorded before the crash. Another post-crash album, Heaven Only Knows, came out in 1983, but neither album performed well. They barely charted. For the first time in a decade, Teddy Pendergrass was not on top. His contract with Philadelphia International came to an end, and suddenly, the man who once had 5 consecutive platinum albums found himself without a label. It was a dark moment. Teddy was still adjusting to his new life physically, and now he faced an uncertain future professionally. Would anyone take a chance on him again? Eventually, Asylum Records gave Teddy another chance. After completing months of grueling physical therapy, he returned to the studio. In 1984, he released Love Language, an album that would prove he wasn't finished yet. On it was a powerful duet called Hold Me, sung with a young singer making her very first professional recording, Whitney Houston. The song was a hit. It shot up the R&B and adult contemporary charts and even made it onto the Billboard Hot 100. For the first time in more than 2 years, Teddy Pendergrass was back on the charts. Love Language itself reached number 38 on the Billboard album chart and went gold. It was proof that his voice, the gift that made him a legend, was still as strong and moving as ever. But Teddy's real comeback moment came on July 13, 1985. That day, the world watched as the historic Live Aid concert unfolded in Philadelphia and London, raising money for famine relief in Africa. The Philadelphia show had more than 100,000 people in the stadium, and more than 1.5 billion people were watching on TV. When Teddy rolled onto that stage in his wheelchair, the crowd erupted. It was his first live performance since the accident. With tears in his eyes, Teddy thanked the audience for their love and support. Then, with a trembling but powerful voice, he sang, "Reach Out and Touch Somebody's Hand," the classic Diana Ross anthem. Teddy also scored his first #1 R&B hit in nearly a decade with the song Joy. The track was upbeat, soulful, and full of life. It reminded everyone that even though he had gone through tragedy, Teddy still had the power to move people. The song's video played constantly on BET, and the album Joy went gold. Though it was his last song to appear on the Billboard Hot 100, it cemented his comeback and gave him another chapter of success. Fans even heard Teddy's voice in surprising places, like radio jingles for WSN-IFM, a station in his hometown of Philadelphia. No matter where you turned, Teddy's voice was still there, still unmistakable. Through the 1990s, Teddy kept recording. In 1994, he had another hit with a new jack swing style track called Believe in Love. 2 years later, he took to the stage in a new way, acting in the touring gospel musical Your Arms Too Short to Box with God, alongside the legendary Stephanie Mills. And in 1998, he opened up his life story in an autobiography titled Truly Blessed. In it, Teddy shared not only his triumphs, but also his pain, his struggles, and his faith. For fans, it was a rare chance to understand the man behind the velvet voice. Even into the 2000s, Teddy Pendergrass continued sharing his music, performing memorable shows like the 2002 Valentine's Day concert at the Wiltern Theater, later released as From Teddy with Love. His classic songs like Wake Up Everybody found new life through covers, political campaigns, and hip-hop samples, proving his influence spanned generations. By 2006, Teddy retired from music, but he still gave back, most notably through the 2007 Teddy 25, a celebration of life, hope, and possibilities, which raised funds for his charity helping people with spinal cord injuries. Even decades later, Teddy's music, voice, and drive still inspire fans and influence the industry. But what was his life like away from the spotlight? The man beyond the stage. Beyond the stage lights and the fame, Teddy's personal life was filled with as much triumph as it was heartbreak. It was a life marked by love, loss, resilience, and an unyielding spirit that refused to be broken. Teddy was a devoted father to 3 children, Tisha, LaDonna, and Theodore Jr. Despite the fame, the tours, and the demands of his career, his family was his anchor. They were the ones who grounded him, who reminded him of what truly mattered in life when the glitter of stardom threatened to take over. He loved them deeply, and even during the darkest moments of his life, his children were a source of strength and purpose. But tragedy touched Teddy early in his personal journey. In 1977, a heartbreaking event shook him to the core. His manager and girlfriend at the time, Tasmaya Taz Lang, was brutally unalived outside her home. The news shocked those close to Teddy, and the case was never solved. whispers and rumors began to circulate. Some suggested that the Philadelphia Black Mafia might have been involved, angry over the control Taz had over Teddy's career. For years, the mystery of her death haunted Teddy, leaving a scar that no stage applause could heal. Life, however, had more challenges, but also moments of hope. In June 1987, Teddy found love again with Karen Still, a former Philadanco dancer who had performed in his shows. Their connection was strong, and they married, building a life together over the next 15 years. During this time, Teddy continued to rebuild both his career and his personal life after the devastating car accident that left him paralyzed from the chest down. Despite facing limitations that would have ended many careers, Teddy pressed forward, performing, recording, and sharing his music with the world. His marriage to Karen lasted until 2002, when they divorced, marking the end of one chapter. But Teddy's story was far from over. In the spring of 2006, a new chapter began when he met Joan Williams. Their connection was instant and undeniable. Within just 4 months, Teddy proposed, and on Easter Sunday, March 23, 2008, they were married in a private ceremony at Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Philadelphia, officiated by his pastor, Alan Waller. Later that year, they celebrated their union once more with a larger, more formal wedding at the Ocean Cliff Resort in Newport, Rhode Island. Joan was more than a wife. She became his partner in faith, in love, and in giving back to the community. Together, they founded the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church Youth Fund in Teddy's name, a program dedicated to helping inner-city youth in Philadelphia. For Teddy, this was not just charity work. It was a way to leave a lasting impact, to give hope to young people facing challenges similar to those he had overcome. Even as Teddy found love and purpose later in life, his health became a concern. In June 2009, he underwent surgery for colon cancer. Initially, the operation was successful, but complications soon followed. Respiratory issues developed, and he returned to the hospital. For 7 months, Teddy battled with courage and determination, supported every step of the way by Joan and his family. Their love and faith never wavered, and Teddy faced the fight with the same strength he had shown throughout his life and career. On January 13, 2010, at Bryn Mawr Hospital in Pennsylvania, Teddy Pendergrass passed away from respiratory failure, with Joan by his side. He was only 59 years old. His body was laid to rest at West Laurel Hill Cemetery in Bala Cynwyd, Pennsylvania, where fans and loved ones continue to honor his memory. Even after his passing, Teddy's life continued to inspire and capture the public's imagination. Plans for a feature film biopic emerged, with actor Tyrese Gibson attached to portray Teddy. In 2019, Gibson revealed he had reached out to director Lee Daniels to bring the story to the screen, aiming to give audiences a chance to see not just the superstar, but the man, the triumphs, the pain, and the humanity behind the legend. That same year, the BBC released a moving documentary titled If You Don't Know Me, which premiered on Showtime. The film explored Teddy's incredible journey, from the heights of fame to the depths of personal struggle, and ultimately, to a life defined by resilience and hope. Teddy Pendergrass's personal life was not just a story of fame and music. It was a story of human spirit. It was a life marked by love, loss, heartbreak, and redemption. From the tragic loss of Taazmaya Lang to the highs and lows of marriage, from the joy of fatherhood to the challenge of living with paralysis, Teddy faced it all with courage and grace. His relationships, his family, and his dedication to giving back showed a man whose heart was as big as his voice. Through it all, Teddy never stopped inspiring. He turned pain into purpose, struggle into triumph, and challenges into opportunities to make a difference. Even in his final years, he continued to touch lives through his music, his charity work, and his example of resilience. In the end, Teddy's life shows us something profound, that true greatness is not measured by fame or fortune, but by the love we give, the strength we show in adversity, and the lives we touch along the way. So what do you think? Did Teddy leave his secrets in the life he lived? Was his story speaking to us all along, or did we just refuse to listen? Share your thoughts in the comments below.